Welcome to another edition of Jets Class. Has anyone actually slept since last Tuesday when the Jets fired Robert Saleh? Because it seems to be one thing after another in Jets land. The latest, Haason Reddick is on the trade block. Davante Adams is officially a member of the Jets, and we are here to break it all down. You're not going to want to miss this action-packed episode. Thank you guys so much for being along for the ride. The Jets have received an awful lot of criticism in recent days from former players, current players, former coaches for the decision to move on from Robert Saleh. And some of that I do get. I think they pulled the plug there a little bit too early. But if you are looking for somebody to give credit and praise to for getting this Davante Adams trade done, you need to look no further than owner Woody Johnson. It would have been very easy for Johnson to walk into Joe Douglas's office and say, absolutely not, we're not going and trading for this guy. I've already paid a ton of money to Allen Lazard. I paid a ton of money to Mike Williams. I've reworked the offensive line. I'm going to have to pay Garrett Wilson. You've got 2 running backs. You got a 4-time MVP. What else do you need when all of these resources have already been invested into the offense and it is still not working? Instead, Johnson did the exact opposite. He saw a player available who wanted to play for his team, a player that his quarterback wanted, and a player who will absolutely make this offense better. So he went out there and he okayed the transaction to get it done. That conditional 3rd-round pick, if he becomes a second, great, whatever. This is about the money, though, because it is Johnson who okays every trade. It is Johnson who has to open up his checkbook to play his players. He did exactly that with Adams, and now the Jets have another weapon for Aaron Rodgers. The Jets entered the 2024 NFL season with Super Bowl expectations, yet week after week, this ultra-talented roster continues to underperform. Firing Robert Saleh didn't solve the problems. Changing play callers was just a Band-Aid. Trading for Davante Adams still won't be the answer. The Jets already have all the talent they need. At this point, they need something bigger, something more radical. What the Jets truly need, and we have found it here on Jets Class. It is Uncle O Grimace. Everyone knows Grimace. He's the friendly purple taste bud who helped turn the New York Mets from a laughingstock to the National League championship contenders they are just by throwing the first pitch at Citi Field. But did you know Grimace has a fun-loving green Irish uncle, Uncle O Grimace, dressed in a green cob hat, a vest adorned with shamrocks and carrying a shillelagh. Now, he's previously made appearances around St. Patrick's Day with a shamrock shake in hand, but why wait until March when the Jets desperately need the luck of the Irish right now? The Jets are clearly feeling the weight of their own expectations, causing them to overthink and make mistake after mistake after mistake. They need to stop worrying about the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and instead focus on what is right in front of them. What they need now is to lighten up, play loose, and remember that football is as much about good energy and vibes and chemistry as it is about strategy and talent. They don't need to go on a silent retreat to learn about the power of manifestation. They just need a symbol. The Jets need to embrace the chaos. Show the world they can make mistakes but still overcome them. After all, this is still the same old Jets. The Jets who overcame the odds to win Super Bowl III. Maybe it's time to lean into that legacy with a little help from Uncle O Grimace. It is time now for 4 Downs, and it is presented by Monmouth University. Explore further at monmouth.edu/amplified. It is 4 topics on the Jets, my thoughts on those topics, and it starts, as always, it's first down. I absolutely love what this Davante Adams trade means for Garrett Wilson, because the Jets now have the ability to play him where they wanted to play him all the way back when they drafted him 10th overall. The Jets back then were trying to recreate the receiving trio of the LA Rams. They wanted to have a Robert Woods type receiver, they wanted to have a Brandon Cooks type receiver, and they wanted to have a Cooper Kupp type receiver. Back then, their 2 outside guys, Brandon Cooks, they thought that was going to be Elijah Moore. Robert Woods, they thought that was going to be Corey Davis. But their Cooper Kupp, who plays so many of his snaps in the slot, so dynamic and impressive and just dominant in that position, was going to be Garrett Wilson. That's where they wanted him to play. Now, differing circumstances over the last few years have prevented that from happening. There was trying to move Elijah Moore in there, then Nathaniel Hackett's wanted Garrett Wilson outside. Well, now with Adams, they can have Adams on one side, Mike Williams or Allen Lazard on the other. Those are your big-bodied receivers. And then you can have Wilson just feast in the slot. His agility, it is just going to be a nightmare in there. His speed, a nightmare in there. His elusiveness, a nightmare in there. And he can still be such a dominant force. How dominant? look at Cooper Kupp, because the Jets' comparison was him. They just believed that Garrett Wilson was a more electric, dynamic, and elusive player than Kupp was, and could maybe even do a little bit more than him on the field. I know he's on the trade block, but I don't necessarily know if I'd be overly inclined to move Mike Williams if I were the Jets. And I understand, he has not had the season 6 weeks in that New York or Williams wanted. He doesn't have the chemistry with Rodgers, likely because he didn't practice too much in the summer. He's clearly still working his way back from the knee injury that he suffered with the Chargers, and he's struggled a little bit to pick up the playbook. But I just wouldn't give up on a player who brings something that no one else does, that unbelievable 50-50 ability, the big physical presence. And every single week, he's going to get further removed from that knee surgery, and he's going to get a little bit better. He's going to develop more chemistry with Rodgers. Now, again, I know the snaps are not going to be there like they were before. The Jets are going to feature Adams, Lazard, and Wilson. But what happens if one of those guys goes down? Do you really want to turn to Jason Brownlee as a starting receiver now? Xavier Gibson? I don't know. I mean, I just think the Jets are a better team keeping Williams, even if it's as a spot duty situational player and insurance policy, than trading him away for a late round draft pick. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but I don't necessarily see a ton of teams banging down the door to try to acquire Haason Reddick at this point in the year. I mean, if they were interested in Reddick long-term and they wanted to give him this long-term contract extension he covets, why would they have not done it in the offseason when he was still a member of the Eagles, where you would have had him for a full year? I mean, you really don't know at all what kind of shape Reddick's in. He hasn't taken part in OTA's minicamp, training camp, and has sat out the first 6 weeks of the season. And also, for any team that's maybe interested in him in a rental, even if Reddick says, hey, I'll play on my current deal for you, that's exactly what he said to the Jets. Then the trade went through, he passed his physical, and he never showed his face again. I don't know how you trust his word. I mean, honestly, I believe that Reddick's best chances of playing in 2024 are still here with the Jets. And I wonder if this, go try to find a trade permission from the Jets, is more just for him to see that there are no other teams interested in him. So he, his representative Drew Rosenhaus, Joe Douglas, and the Jets can get together and be like, look, Haason, your best chance is to play for us, so why don't you come in, we'll try to work something out in the short term, and then go cash in and get the contract you want in the offseason. I said this to you guys before the Jets took on the Bills. I did not view that game, win, lose, or draw, as a deciding point in the Jets season. And now, even at 2-4, like you heard so many players say in the locker room after the game, everything the Jets want to accomplish is still there for them to accomplish. This game against the Steelers, this one though, is the one I have had circled for a couple of weeks now as the must-win game for the Jets, especially now after they lost that game to the Bills. Because if they can win this game against Pittsburgh, sit there at 3-4, there are so many games on the back half of their schedule now where they can take advantage, get into the playoffs, get some momentum, and make a legitimate run. You still have to play the Dolphins twice. Who knows if Tua Tagovailoa is going to be in either of those games. You're going to play the Bills again. You're going to play the Patriots. They're stink. But there are so many games to feast on. I'm talking about games like against the Colts. They're terrible. The Seahawks, they're terrible. You play the Cardinals. They're no good. I mean, there are games there for the Jets to win, but it starts here against the Steelers, a solid Steelers team who has issues on offense, but a top 5 defense led by TJ Watt. They cannot fall to 2-5, because at 2-5, the season's pretty much over, but at 3-4, the Jets can absolutely go on a run. Thank you guys for joining another episode of Jets Clash. You make this entire show possible, and we are so grateful for you. If you want to catch all previous episodes of the show, you can across SNY's digital platforms. That is SNY.TV, that is Facebook, that is X, and that is YouTube. You know the drill if you're watching on YouTube. Like, subscribe to SNY's channel, comment on all of our videos, just because that helps spread us to other Jet fans. If you want more of me and the Jets pregame live crew, you can find us Sunday before the Jets take on the Steelers in prime time. That is Sunday, Jets pregame live. We will see you guys there.